For this problem, we're going to find the inverse of a non-singular matrix. We're going to do this algebraically. Here we're given this non-singular matrix A. To find the inverse, we first want to augment this matrix with an appropriate identity matrix. Since we have a 2 by 2 matrix here, we're going to use a 2 by 2 identity matrix. So we're going to rewrite our matrix A, and then we augment that with a 2 by 2 identity. We're going to perform row operations on this matrix so that we can get the identity matrix instead of A over here. And we're going to do the operations on the entire row, and so we'll end up with our inverse matrix on this side. First thing we want to do is get a 1 in this first row, first column entry. To do that, we say our new row 1 will equal 1/3 times our old row 1. So we need to multiply this first row by 1/3. 1/3 times 3 gives us our 1. 1/3 times 2 is 2/3. 1 times 1/3 is 1/3. 0 times 1/3 is 0. And we haven't done anything to our second row, so we'll just rewrite that. Next, we want to get a 0 in the second row, first column entry. To do that, our new row 2 will equal -5 times our first row and added to our second row. We're not changing our first row, so we're going to rewrite that. 1 2/3, 1/3, 0. And now we need to perform this operation. -5 times 1 is -5, plus 5 gives us 0. -5 times 2/3 is -10/3. If we add that to 4, where 4 is 12/3, we end up with 2/3. -5 times 1/3 plus 0 is -5/3. -5 times 0 plus 1 is just 1. Now we'd like to get a 1 in our second row, second column. So we're going to say our new row 2 is equal to 3/2 times the current row 2. We're not changing our first row, so we rewrite that. 1 2/3, 1/3, 0. And now we need to perform this operation. 3/2 times 0 is still 0. 3/2 times 2/3 is 1. 3/2 times -5/3 is -5/2. And 3/2 times 1 is 3/2. And we're almost done. All we need to do is get a 0 in this 1 2 entry here, out this opposite diagonal. To do that, we're going to say our new row 1 is equal to -2/3 times row 2 plus row 1. We're not changing row 2, so we're going to rewrite that. 0, 1, -5/2, 3/2. Now we need to perform this operation. -2/3 times 0 plus 1 is still +1. -2/3 times 1 plus 2/3 is 0. So now we have our identity matrix. -2/3 times -5/2, two negatives make a positive. We'll end up with 5/3 plus 1/3 is 6/3, which is 2. -2/3 times 3/2, that's -1, plus 0 is -1. Since we have our identity matrix here, this matrix that we've augmented becomes our inverse matrix. So A inverse is equal to 2, -1, -5/2, 3/2.